The cowboy never imagined that one act of courage would tie him to the fate of an Apache family. Dust clung to his boots as he rode through the valley, his horse breathing hard, hooves echoing against canyon walls. Rumors had spread of raiders burning settlements, but what he found was more personal. Under the shade of a cottonwood tree sat an elderly Apache woman, her silver hair tangled, her body bound, her spirit unbroken. Two bandits circled her like predators, rifles loose in their hands. The cowboy didn't hesitate. He drew his revolver, dismounted, and 2 shots cracked the silence. Both men dropped lifeless into the dust. The grandmother looked at him not with fear, but with a deep burning defiance. After a long pause, she whispered in Apache, then repeated in broken English, "Take care of her, brave cowboy." The cowboy frowned until he noticed movement. From the shadows emerged a young Apache woman, perhaps 20, her long wavy hair braided with feathers, her bow clutched tight. Her dress, fringed brown leather with beads, carried tradition and pride. Her sharp eyes studied him with suspicion. The grandmother gestured firmly toward her. Take care of her. The cowboy wasn't used to responsibility. He was a drifter, a loner with no ties. But something in the old woman's gaze forced a silent nod. The girl finally spoke. "If you ride with us, you ride into danger." He smirked. "Danger's the only trail I know." That night by the fire, the grandmother told stories of her people, their history, the threats from soldiers and raiders, and the importance of keeping their traditions alive. The cowboy listened in silence, the weight of her words heavy. The granddaughter remained guarded, glancing at him only when she thought he wasn't looking. She was strong, proud, but beneath it he sensed fear for her grandmother's safety. At dawn, the real test came. As they crossed the plains, 3 armed riders appeared, rifles raised. The cowboy's hand went to his revolver. "Take your grandmother and run," he ordered. But the young woman stood her ground. "I fight." The riders charged. The cowboy dropped behind a rock, firing with deadly precision, his revolver cracking like thunder. The young woman's arrows whistled through the air, striking true. Together they fought with a strange rhythm, his bullets and her arrows, weaving survival. When the dust settled, the men lay defeated. Blood streaked the cowboy's sleeve where a bullet grazed him, but he hardly noticed. What mattered was that the grandmother lived, and the girl still stood beside him. The old woman looked at him, her eyes softer now. "You carry the spirit of a warrior," she said. The cowboy shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't sure he deserved such words, but something inside him stirred. For the first time in years, he felt his trail might not be so lonely. As the sun set in fiery red, the grandmother repeated her words, voice firmer than ever. "Take care of her, brave cowboy." The cowboy met the granddaughter's eyes, and for the first time she didn't look away. Something unspoken passed between them, something stronger than distrust. And with that, his wandering life had suddenly become bound to theirs. The fire crackled low by dawn. The cowboy stirred awake to the sound of soft, urgent voices in Apache. The grandmother's tone was sharp, commanding. The granddaughter's carried resistance. When she saw him awake, she fell silent. The grandmother, however, pointed at him. "He stays." The spirits chose him. He never believed in fate, yet her words carried authority heavier than bullets. The granddaughter crossed her arms but didn't argue. By midday they rode through the plains. Wild horses roamed freely, mountains rising in the distance. The granddaughter rode ahead, alert, scanning the horizon. Her distrust still hung in the air. Finally, the cowboy asked, "Your grandmother trusts me, do you?" Her answer was quick. "Trust is earned. Words mean little." "Good," he said. "I'm better with actions." Danger proved her point soon enough. As they entered a canyon, a dozen cavalry riders appeared, rifles gleaming. They weren't after him. They wanted the grandmother, the keeper of Apache traditions. The girl instantly understood, her jaw tightening. The cowboy spurred his horse. "Move!" Gunfire ripped across the canyon. Dust exploded under the horses. The cowboy fired with relentless precision, each shot finding its mark. The granddaughter unleashed arrows, swift and deadly, her movements graceful as a storm. The grandmother's horse stumbled, throwing her to the ground. The cowboy leapt to her side, shielding her behind a boulder as bullets rained down. The granddaughter screamed and fought her way to them, eyes blazing with fury. Together they made their stand. The cowboy's revolver roared until it emptied, forcing him into hand-to-hand combat. The granddaughter slashed with a knife when her arrows ran out. Their fight was fierce, primal, unyielding. At last, silence fell. The canyon was littered with fallen riders. The cowboy, bloodied but standing, knelt beside the grandmother. She grasped his hand, her voice weak but steady. "You did not run. You stood. You are bound now by honor. The granddaughter's eyes softened at last. You saved her again, she whispered. Over the next days, something shifted. Trust grew quietly. Shared food, silent glances. Laughter one night when he mispronounced an Apache phrase. Beneath the stars, she admitted, if they take me, our stories die. That is why she chose you. Now I see why. Words failed him, but his nod was enough. At dawn, raiders came again, desperate and ruthless. Outnumbered, the trio fought fiercely. The cowboy and the girl moved as one, his revolver and her. Bow weaving a deadly dance, the grandmother prayed softly, strength in her frail hands. When the last raider fell, dawn broke golden. The grandmother, exhausted but alive, clutched his hand. Take care of her, brave cowboy. She is the flame. You are the shield. The granddaughter's hand touched his arm, her gaze steady, no longer distrustful. For the first time in years, the cowboy felt rooted, not a wanderer but a protector. As the sun rose, horses grazed near cabins, mountains glowing. He knew then that his life had changed forever. He hadn't just saved an Apache grandmother. He'd found a bond worth every risk.